Tim Makowski. Oh, there's so many stories. What a great, great young man. He was from Washington, Illinois, and he was primarily a half miler. He had a collapsed lung when he was high school running. I don't think he ran cross country in high school. He came to North Central College and he wanted to run cross country. He claims that I tried to talk him out of cross country because I don't think he'd ever run over 20 miles a week. And I tried to discourage him from that. And I thought he's more of a quarter miler, half miler, wanted to be more delicate with him. And I knew that he had a collapsed lung in high school. He said, no, I want to run, cross country. So he made our top 7 as a freshman. He certainly proved me wrong. He could run cross country. He had difficulties. I can't remember the exact years, but one year he had mono. He did not look like himself. And I said, something's wrong. And we did a blood test. And I remember we got the diagnosis when we were at the national championship, wherever we were that year. And he got the feedback that he had mono. So we did not run him in the national championship. So he had difficulties along the way, but it was his senior year. We went to dress rehearse the national championship course in, I think it's Spokane, Washington. Tim Makowski's roommate comes down to the parking lot. Coach, you got to go up and see Tim Makowski. Something's really wrong with it. And we went up there, and lo and behold, his intestine was sticking out like this. We took him to the hospital, and the doctor said, this is very serious. It's strangulated, he said. And he said, if we don't get this back in, he's got to stay here and have an operation right away. And he's laying there and he says, I'm running today. Absolutely not running this race at all. But the doctor said how serious it was that we had to get this hernia back in. The doctor got it back in. That was on a Saturday. He had the operation on the next Wednesday. The very next day, I think it was, out like this, running like this. And I said, what the heck are you doing? He said, the doctor has patched it up. He said, I can't do any harm to it. He was out running a little bit, moving. And then we didn't really do much of anything. Talk about mental toughness and competitive response. We started inching him along, getting him in some mild workouts eventually, whatever we thought we could do under the doctor's direction. Conference meet was in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He thought, should we put him in the meet here just to get his feet wet? Because we planned on running him at the Nationals. Doctor said, you can't hurt him. But I put him in the conference meet and said, hey, we're just going to test ourselves, be very, very easy with all the parts of the race, part 1 to 2, 3, 4. And he ended up winning the conference meet. That was a relief. Then we went to the regional meet. He ended up winning the regional meet. And then we went to the national meet, and we were back in, I can't remember, Spokane or Seattle or where it was. And he won the national championship. And he came off of very little training leading up to the national championship.
Although there was individual success starting off the 2000s, the team aspect wasn't where it had been.
Got away from the mold. We really started to deviate away from the fundamental values and virtues that helped us to have a great, great culture. Work ethic, discipline, commitment, loyalty. You can go on and on and on. I believe that we started to become more of a social club where people wanted to be part of the team, which is a normal process. You want to be part of a group. But we were ceasing to try to be at our very best. Our motto was run for fun. It means put a perspective on what you're doing, but personal best. And if you're not striving to get better, then you're really not fitting the philosophy. And I think that's, kind of crept in, and I could see that happening slowly, within our program. But I kind of thought the upperclassmen were teaching the young incomers the values and virtues that were helpful to helping us to be at our very, very best. But the responsibility was really not theirs. It was my responsibility as a coach to sense what was happening, with our team. Apples were falling off the apple cart as we were going through those years.
North Central started off the 2000s with a 4th place finish in 2000 and 2001. and a third place finish in 2002 and 2003.
And in 2004, I could tell something was not quite right with the team. We really it didn't have the culture, the environment, and some social things were far more important than running within our program. And we got second in the national championship up in Eau Claire. So I thought, hey, I misevaluated. We're still doing pretty well. But I was not facing the reality of what was deteriorating within our program. And I knew something was happening, like I said, that was not the same culture. But eventually, the next year, we had a team that was clearly could have been top 4 team, in my opinion. Thought we should have been. And we ended up getting 12th. That was a real kick in the stomach for me, a time where I had to look myself in the mirror and say, what is going on in our program? What have we lost? And what can we do differently? Because the program is not the same. And it was objectively verified by getting 12th with a team that I felt should have been at least in the top 4. And so I started getting back to the basics and working on internal values, the internal characteristics, the foundational factors that really built the person up from the inside out. It wasn't in the workouts, the guys are motivated. It was, something much, much deeper that we lacked, the cohesiveness, selflessness, and the crystallization of the values that made us really, really great. And again, I go back to the fundamental spiritual foundation. We had deviated, away from that. And I just thought, okay, we're going back. We had to get our mileage up. We had to do some things differently and work a little bit differently than we had in the past. In 2006, getting 13th in the national championship, thought to myself, all I want to do is see us get better. I feel like internally we're improving, and I wanted to show external verification that we are getting better. And yet we got 13th, and I called it the Mud Bowl. It was the worst conditions I've ever seen in my life, where we ran and we did not have any confidence in ourselves whatsoever. Calvin won the national championship. They had what I call the knowing. They knew they were going to do very, very well. And we went in with a lot of self-doubt. I've had 2 athletes that ran by me during the warm-up and said, Coach, we can't get our traction here. Coach, we're just slipping, So I knew that we were not mentally, physically, and emotionally confident in what we were going to do. And then the next year, it really hit the fan, when we went to St. Olaf. And I was clear again. My evaluation was that this team, is a top 3 team. I even talked to John Zupank from Oshkosh. I said, what do you think of our team? He said, oh, you're top 4 team, no question. And he was a great evaluator and great friend, and I trusted what he said. And we had gotten a very, very fast start the week before in the regionals, wherever we were. And at St. Olaf, about a quarter mile in, it was a hard, sharp right turn. We went around that right turn. I was standing at that corner looking at it. Oh my gosh. We went around that turn with our team in last place. We did not get good position. And then that course narrows down into very narrow paths the rest of the way. We could not move up, and we ended up getting 16th in the national championship. Even though I felt we were doing the right things within the program to get it back on the right kind of foundational structure that it needed to be on, but I thought maybe I'm too old to coach. Maybe I'm not in touch with the athletes anymore. Maybe I'm not communicating well. How in the world can a coach say that you're top 3, top 4, teams, and then end up, placing so far off that mark? It's like a teacher saying, well, I know this student's going to get an A, and then he gets an F or a D. How can I misjudge it that badly? I thought, boy, I'm really not doing a very great job in coaching. But I went to the team and had a meeting with them, and I told them, even though I had some self-doubt within myself, I said, I have confidence in you. We were getting a lot of flack, or some flack from some alums and outside people saying, hey, North Central's lost its way. It's never going to be up there again. And I had meetings, private meetings with them, and I said, I want you to know, I don't care what anybody else says about us or you. I know we are doing the right things. We are in the right path. And we are going to be back to where we were. And the very next year, we got second place. The guys on the team, they wanted to win, and they were very, very, very disappointed in second place. And I'd be very, very honest. I was very relieved that we got back on the podium. We got second place, and I thought that team had more pressure on it than any other team that's ever run at North Central College, because they were trying to prove something. My only fear, I didn't have fear that they had the talent. I didn't have fear that they had the motivation. I didn't have fear that they had the right stuff inside of them. My concern was that they might overreact at the start and get out way too fast, get over their skis, and then fade back and not run a balanced race. They ran a beautiful race, got second place, and that really got us back on the mark, and then we started taking off after that.
Having 2 All-Americans and many other experienced runners returning from that 2008 team, North Central was ready to show the country that they were back and ready to end the decade with a national championship.
They evolved at that point. It was a team that evolved with belief, starting out with believe we could, and that team had the knowing. There was no question in their minds that they were not going to win or do very, very well on that day. And that's a deep down conviction. They didn't mind being on the spotlight. I knew they weren't going to overreact. I knew that they were going to run a balanced race, an intelligent race, and, run a team race and come up on top. And they certainly did.
That 2009 team had an incredible day, scoring 50 and winning by over 130. North Central was led by Michael Spain, who finished runner-up in the meet. That team accomplished a tremendous feat that is rarely seen in a national championship. All 7 runners that competed were All-American, finishing in the top 40 individually. North Central had battled back from a few rough years and had the culture back to where it belonged. On the track, North Central would win the Outdoor Track Championships in 2000 and had the following national champions, as well as 58 individual All-American honors between indoor and outdoor track. Tune into the 6th segment of the documentary series to see how North Central would keep the ball rolling from that 2009 team into Al's last decade of coaching.